Okay, this is number 246 of 25 vlogs in 2025, what I'm documenting how I'm taking my open source calendar app and turning it into a profitable business. Last video, I got cocky and I started yapping about everything I know and, just be like me. And in the last 2 weeks, I've been humbled massively, but I'm going to share it honestly, and hopefully this can be a lesson on what not to do for both you and me. Let's just jump on the computer and I'll show you what I mean. I haven't added up the stats, but let's just say, so it's been 2 weeks here. Handful of bug fixes. I already talked about what we were pushing for. I was pushing for is getting this recurring events done. So let's open this up. This is just about, let me display recurring events in the calendar. You can't do that right now. Right now you can see the first instance of a recurring event, but not other instances. You can't edit a recurring event. If you edit a recurring event in Google Calendar, it's not updated in my calendar. And that for me is the biggest thing for what's holding me back from using it, because I have sub calendars, I have different accounts. I need to just see everything in one spot, and I can't do that with my app right now. The events show up, but I will put a little asterisk over the recurring ones, and I say you can't edit it, and that's cool. And what I found is when you update it in Google Calendar, I wasn't handling it well, and you end up with 3 of the same event. Okay, so this would be a huge step backwards compared to even not even having them. So then I go into, okay, how do I need to actually update how the events are synced. I get notified from Google when an event changes, and then I update my database, and then I send an update to the user in their browser so they could see it right away without having to reload the page, yada, yada. And that works. The code is just getting kind of hairy. It's getting really messy in that spot. And so then I thought, okay, let me break things out into a separate service. I have the backend service, which is kind of like a monolith right now. Let me just do one for just the sync service. So I can have the backend service that does everything, and then this sync service will do the things I just talked about. Well, I've been using Nest, Nest.js for work, and I feel familiar with it. So I'm like, okay, let me spin up a Nest project. Installed the Nest CLI. For me, it was the Jest unit testing config files were working in isolation. But once I started to try to use common files, like these core and source ones, core and common files, which are shared between different parts of the backend, it was breaking. And then at some point, I'm like, geez, I'm in deep. I 76 files and 2 full days on this. So I'm violating my 2 big rules, which are no massive PRs and no long PRs. 2 days doesn't sound that long, but when we're talking about hitting a goal in 2 weeks, and this is just for really like a partial feature of that overarching feature, it was a super risky move. It felt right because I was untangling it. It felt really good to connect it, but it was kind of like it was going to work or it wasn't. And damn it, it didn't work. I'm going to abandon it. I can learn the lessons of how to set up a microservice and what's helpful, but I'm going to go back to square one, which is monolithic microservice, and just dig into the code and manually test it. That was the big selling point for me with this, is like I want to test it in isolation, and that way I can really understand it now that I'm adding a lot more business logic to these microservices. And I'm just going to have to deal with not being able to do that right now for the sake of hitting the goal. And I'll come back and clean it up eventually, but not right now. Lesson learned. What's the lesson I'm trying to say? I learned I need time boxing's good as much as possible to keep the PR small and keep them frequent, because I might be able to get away with it if everything goes right. But the longer it gets, the more files it touches, the lower the likelihood of it all going right. And I risked it. I got burned. So, hey, they say you only learn things when it hurts. When it hits into an emotional chord, this hurts. This hurts. I am going to learn from this. That's all. Hey, before I get back to that, you've probably noticed there's 2 categories of people on YouTube in this space. There's one, the type of person who made it. They have the dream job or dream exit, or they built the thing, and now they're like, okay, here's 10 steps on how to do it. And then there's a person who's a wannabe, and I am a wannabe, but I am turning into the first category of person, and I'm documenting that process along the way. I think that's pretty cool. If you agree, subscribe. It helps the vibes, really. So what I did get right in my last video was explaining how the only thing that really matters is results. And that's part of the reason why I was bummed about all this, because I build up the weekends. I work so hard to have that time on the weekends and commit to it and go to sleep on time and get things in order and just make sure it's ready to work. And when I do that and I work and then I don't get the output, it just sucks. It sucks, man. But one of the things that's helped so far is just not allowing myself to get on that downward spiral, because I just do it every day. That's not up for debate. I'm doing it every single day. I took 2 days where I just did all that work and didn't get anything done, but I know that I still have 5 more days this week where I can fix that. I can take what I learned and I can still move forward. The intimidating part is the goal of where I want to get to at the end of the month. I set this for myself and for the contributor who's helping out, and it sucks that I kind of made it harder to reach that goal with this, but I'm not switching the goal. I'm still going to push for it and do what I can to make it happen. I think I still can pull it off. We can pull it off. Lesson learned: no long PRs, preferably no big PRs either. I just watched that back. One of the benefits of watching yourself on video is you can kind of see your bullshit a little sooner. I was reverting to that hopeful language. I hope I get it done. We're going to try to get it done. Let's see. We're going to do our best and push. Nope. That's old me. We're getting it done. We're still getting it done. Do it! The last 2 days have not been fruitful. Regardless, though, by the end of the month, I will be using that app daily, just like the goal was set out to do. And that's that. The end.